my distinct pleasure this morning to introduce to you Michelle Nochisaki. Michelle Nochisaki joined Green and Healthy Homes Initiative in October of 2016 as the Marin County Outcome Broker. I love that title because she's the coordinator of the program, but she's the one that's responsible for the outcome. So her job title is Outcome Broker. She makes sure that everybody does something to see that we have a good outcome. Michelle's the program liaison and the local point person for the national Green and Healthy Homes Initiative effort. She manages the day-to-day program activities and coordinates partners engaged in the Marin County effort. Having worked in the residential energy efficiency sector for over 7 years before joining Marin's Green and Healthy Homes Initiative, she's passionate about improving housing and well-educated on the impacts of the built environment as they have on one's well-being. Prior to joining GHHI, she was a private consultant for home performance contractors and a program manager at Efficiency First, the National Association for Home Performance Contractors in San Francisco, and previously was with the Building Performance Institute as a relationship and program development manager in Saratoga Springs, New York. So please welcome Michelle Nochisaki.
Thank you. Just kidding. Thank you. Excited to be here with you all today. I've sat in on a few commission meetings, but this is my first time presenting, so thank you for having me. As Sybil said, I am here representing Green and Healthy Homes Initiative, Marin County. I'm going to go over a little bit of background and introduce you to GHHI National, what the organization is, go over our model, which is what brought GHHI Marin to this county, and then obviously discussed GHHI Marin. There will be 15 minutes after the presentation for a Q&A, so if you don't mind holding your questions until then, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. So, before I introduce you to Green and Healthy Homes Initiative, I have a couple statistics up here for you. The burden of unhealthy and energy inefficient homes. Our built environment affects our health and well-being a lot. Over 30 million families live in unhealthy homes, 14.4 million missed days of school each year due to asthma is the top reason, but all kinds of childhood illnesses. 14.2 million missed days of work each year. That's either due to the parent or the actual worker being ill and or their children, and therefore they need to take off. 51 billion spent on asthma, 31 billion spent on slip and fall injuries, 43 billion spent on lead poisoning. And it's no secret that low-income individuals have higher utility bills than folks who are able to afford them. So what have we been doing about this? Well, it says up there our old service delivery system. Most programs and services in the past have been set up extremely siloed. Notice all of the individual silos. The way that we have structured our programs was simply based on where the funding came from. And the way that worked was there was a specific funding given to a specific organization to carry out a specific service, and so on and so forth. And what that led to was the individual home or the client, the folks that we are trying to serve and trying to help, having to go through each one of these organizations individually, which lead to individual applications, individual assessments, essentially a lot of burden for not a lot of service if we have to go one by one. So introducing the Green and Healthy Homes Initiative. Initially launched in 1986 as Parents Against Lead, which later turned into the Coalition to End Childhood Lead Poisoning. The coalition was set up like one of these siloed services. And what they realized was that when they were going into homes to mitigate the lead hazard, they realized that the clients they were serving had a lot of other issues within the home. Extreme energy inefficiencies, home rehab issues, aging in place, modifications that were needed, et cetera. So the federal government, a handful of philanthropic organizations, National League of Cities got together and launched Green and Healthy Homes Initiative out of the Coalition to End Childhood Lead Poisoning in 2008. Overall, the purpose of GHHI was to create a coordinated service delivery system and essentially break the link between unhealthy housing and unhealthy families. So their strategy. They're best known for the aligning, braiding, and coordinating. And everyone likes the braiding because folks are like, wow, we think of hair, but it's actually braiding relevant resources, aligning services and funding that already exists, and coordinating the service delivery, again, with the overall goal of creating greater impact, less burden. This picture is what their model is most known for, and essentially the way they set it up was a no wrong door when it came to funding. Flexible funding sources from federal, state, philanthropic, et cetera, that essentially made it easier to then work with the client through a comprehensive system, single intake system, a comprehensive assessment that's addressing all issues within the house as opposed to just one issue, coordinating the services, integrating the interventions, cross-training workers at the same time, and sharing data so that everyone can not only receive the information and data that they need to have for their own specific program, but see the greater impact that they're having while they all work together. The outcome of flexible funding and a coordinated model, essentially lead hazard reduction, asthma trigger control, fall and injury prevention, energy efficiency, and weatherization. So what GHHI nationally has seen, again, GHHI is a national organization. We have sites across the country. I believe we have 25 sites at the moment. And essentially by working together, you see reduction in cost to individual programs. You see greater leads amongst programs. Reductions in missed days of work, missed days of school, hospital visits, ER visits, trip and fall injuries, doctor visits, et cetera. Introducing GHHI Marin. So how did Green and Healthy Homes Initiative get to Marin County? Can everyone hear me? Sorry, there we go. Oh my gosh, do I need to start over? So a little bit of the background. In summer of 2015, the Marin Community Foundation put together a task force of local agencies and service providers and tasked them with coming up with a new program that would affect the health and the built environment of residents here in Marin County. They wanted to bring a program that addressed the health issues, but they weren't sure exactly what this program would look like, how they would set up this program. So they essentially put together a task force to determine the need and started doing research nationally to see what other regions were doing, what other program models they could follow. After vetting Green and Healthy Homes Initiative, in the fall of 2016, they launched the GHHI pilot program. That's when I came on board in October. We officially launched in early November of 2016, and we are currently in the pilot phase. One of the things I want to mention here is that Green and Healthy Homes Initiative is not a standalone program, but is essentially a new service delivery model. So you'll see that when GHHI came here to Marin County, the task force put together essentially their theory of change, what they wanted to see happen here in the county by not replacing existing programs and not bringing in a brand new program, but working with existing programs, coordinating the services, funding, staff that were already here in Marin County. Essentially, seamless access to information, incentives, and services, more residents to utilize related programs and services. If we made it easier for folks to take part in these services, if we helped them on the coordination level, and if we referred them from one program to the other, would we increase the amount of clients who take advantage of the programs that we have? While at the same time reducing energy and water consumption, waste generation, greenhouse gas emissions, et cetera, and enable more residents to experience improved health and safety within their home. So the focus areas. Again, GHHI at this point was now vetted, and then came a lot of data and analysis. Again, GHHI being a model, what does that model look like here in Marin County? What are the community needs? What are the areas that we need to focus on? How do we need to structure this program? Who should our program partners be? Essentially, after pulling together all of that information, the 3 areas that GHHI Marin decided to focus on was resource conservation, so energy efficiency, waste, water, et cetera. Home rehab, so that's everything from new roofs to fixing floorboards, decks, retaining walls, pest management, et cetera, and independent living. Marin County has a large senior population. Unlike other GHHI sites where maybe lead poisoning is an issue in urban areas, as a county-wide initiative looking at the folks here in Marin, Aging in Place came up as one of the services that folks wanted to address. So the structure, you'll see here at the bottom, here are all of our current partners. We work with Marin Center for Independent Living, the county, both the Community Development Agency and Health and Human Services, MCE Clean Energy, Marin Housing Authority, Marin City Community Development Corporation, Community Action Marin, Strategic Energy Services, and City of Sausalito, Age-Friendly Sausalito, Sybil, and Commission on Aging, since she represents any and all of the above. So the way we're structured is that we have an advisory committee, essentially a member of each one of these organizations here on the bottom is part of this committee to guide the initiative, structure how we deliver our services, and essentially act as that oversight. There's the outcome broker, that's me, essentially the staff doing everything and anything involved. Then we have what we call our triage committee. That is essentially it's about half of these partners here who are already running and serving folks through their home modification programs. And essentially, we work together to literally coordinate our services, their resources, on all clients that come through our door. Data and evaluation and sustainability. Essentially, data is huge. If you are going to run a program, if you want your program to be successful, you need to make sure it is successful. That means collecting data on essentially each individual housing that you serve. One of the main goals for GHHI National and GHHI Marin is to not only collect data on the built environment, but also on the individual residents, right? So it's green and healthy. So in addition to doing, say, energy assessments or a home rehab report where you're getting, say, a list of measures that involve the built environment, we're also sitting down with clients and saying, so tell me how you feel in your home. Do you trip and fall often? What areas of your home are you uncomfortable with? What areas of the home are hot and cold? Does anyone in the house have asthma? And essentially collect data before and after the interventions so we can see, what has changed after we have gone in and modified the home. And then we have a social services committee. Again, this is unique to Marin County. The task force, when they were first brought on, decided how they wanted to best serve Marin residents. In addition to the built environment, they wanted to make sure that we were accounting for other social services that were available here in the county and making sure that we created partnerships so that we weren't just addressing the built environment and the subsequent health, safety, wellness items that went along with that, but we were also following through. So who do we serve? What services do we offer? So essentially, we are a low-income program. Again, we are still in pilot phase, so You'll see up there that it says up to 80% average mean income following the HUD guidelines. That is essentially the highest that we could go to. Eligibility for our program is determined based on income of the resident, but also what services they need. Again, since we work through local programs and services, we utilize their eligibility criteria, et cetera. However, with our group of partners, we are able to serve single-family, multifamily, mobile home, and floating homes, owners, and that should say renters. I know it only says but renters should be up there also. I will put in just a note with renters. We work with renters, but at that point, we also do have to get the property owner involved. That's just standard and something that we have to do. So here is just a brief example of some services offered. Roof, window, door repair, pest remediation, installation of grab bars and ramps, obviously energy efficiency, and again, creating those social service referrals and larger partnerships here in the community. You'll see here at the bottom a smaller group of logos, and these are our triage and our service team members. So at Marin Housing Authority, we utilize both their residential and rental rebate loan program. Community Action Marin, we utilize their energy efficiency services, both their LIHEAP and their energy savings assistance program, as well as their HEAP, which is a one-time utility payoff. At the county, we essentially get to partner with any and all programs that come through the county that the CDA is the liaison for. Most of our clients have utilized BACMA's low-income wood smoke rebate program as a way to improve the indoor air quality of the home and essentially get rid of the wood stove and put in a new source of heating. MCE Clean Energy, we utilize their multifamily energy efficiency program. And they have actually just launched an additional program called LIFT, Low-Income Families and Tenants, which allow for energy efficiency retrofits to go deeper. So that's really exciting for GHHI Marin because we now take their multifamily energy efficiency program and have additional funds to take one step further, which is exciting. And then Marin Center for Independent Living, we work with them on their aging in place and accessibility housing modification measures. So what's the process? Essentially, first step is contacting GHHI Marin. That should be number one. I apologize for that not being up there. But you can do that either by contacting GHHI Marin. We have a website, we have a contact phone number, but also through any one of our partners. So essentially, if you say reach out to MCIL for advocacy or you think you need grab bars installed, at that point, MCIL is already the triage partner and adding you into the pool of GHHI Marin candidates, as long as you want to be, which brings us to the number one that's actually up here. We have what we call a intake form. And essentially, what that does is allow us to gather some initial data on your home or property. And then there is a consent form. And the consent form is essentially saying, we are a collaborative. And so, yes, you are giving this information on your home to GHHI Marin, but that means you are also saying it's okay for us to share with our partners, MCIL, MCE, MHA, et cetera. Once we receive that form, GHHI determines what partner services the applicant is eligible for. Again, it's based on income and what are the needs of the home. We reach out to our clients to do that initial phone call introduction to the collaborative model and get some additional information to then determine what partner best fits, what services best meet that client's needs, et cetera. So that's basically step 3. GHHI behind the scenes in our triage meetings and with our partners coordinates the applicable home assessments and client surveys to identify the need of that individual or that home. Once assessments are conducted by one partner or another partner or multiple partners, the scope of work is developed, finalized, and services are delivered. Once the project is complete, that's again when we follow up with a follow-up survey to determine, okay, not only what did we do for the built environment, but how did we impact your world, meaning the client living in that space. Current highlights. So like I said, we are still in pilot mode. Some things that kind of like a standstill of where we are right at the moment. We hired a new staffer. Really exciting. It's not just me, it's now me and Michaela, and I apologize for her blurry picture, but she's up there. We launched an improved website that allows folks to contact us directly through there so we can gather their information and help streamline that intake process. We were awarded an additional $400,000 service fund through MCF. So what that means is GHHI Marin is now no longer just working with our partner resources, but we have funding to fill the gaps for when a need is there in a home and our partners' resources don't cover it. Again, caveat with the funding is that we are a collaborative model, so it's not standalone funding. It's how do we fill the holes when a client is already working with one of our partners or multiple partners, and we essentially do a whole house assessment and consequently then address all of those needs. That's what that funding is for. We have reached out and we are now partnering with different social services in the community, different partners outside of just our, initial task force, advisory board, and triage committee, expanding our partner network, and developing case studies. So you'll see over here, current clients, new referrals, completed projects. Right now, I believe these numbers are actually higher than these right here, but we're basically at 35 to 40 folks who are in process. Completed projects, 3 of those, you'll see that that number is low. Some people might say, okay, for the first year, that's a low number. But it's important to note that the modifications that we're able to perform through our partners are pretty extensive. There's lots of folks in the pipeline, but these modifications take a while. I'd say more than half of our clients in the pipeline are receiving roofing repairs, et cetera, things that are large repairs and take time. So that's essentially like a still life of where we are right now. And then a partial case study. Like I said, we're in development mode, so bear with me. So this is Sir Francis Drake Boulevard. This is a multifamily property that initially contacted MCE to do some energy efficiency work. Once they contacted MCE, they were then put in the pipeline. There's 4 units. And they are all Section 8 tenants, which means that we were then able to utilize Marin Housing Authority and their rehab loan program. 2 of the tenants are seniors and 2 tenants have special needs. Essentially, there was a lot of work needed on these 4 units. We did home rehab, energy efficiency, safety, and accessibility. To give you just kind of a little bit of a snapshot here, in terms of what we called green, or the energy efficiency pieces that were done, we replaced windows, installed crawl space and roof insulation, installed tankless water heater, direct install measures. So these are, kind of like the quick fixes, but they do make a large difference. LED lighting, faucet and shower aerators. And you'll see down below the ductless heat pumps. Again, this is part of the LIFT program, which MCE just launched, so it has not been done yet. But because, again, we're a coordinated referral system of sorts, any new programs that come online, our clients get pushed into those also. And so, great that LIFT is online, and now these folks will have a more efficient and comfortable source of heating. Under accessibility, health, and safety, which we deem as the healthy part of GHHI, pest remediation, security lighting, bathroom ventilation, tree work. There were some dead branches which they were worried about falling. In addition to that, there are trip and fall hazards. Deck repair, fencing and gate repair, carport repair, and ADA bathroom and handrails were installed. So essentially, again, the property owner went to MCE just to do some energy efficiency measures. And at one point, that would have been all they would have gotten was, okay, so we'll go in, let's see what we can do with the energy efficiency measures. Not only through the coordinated system were they able to take advantage of additional funding and resources and take care of all of these other healthy aspects of the home, but now that those healthy aspects are completed and done, the energy efficiency piece is that much more energy efficient. It really should be a coordinated model. A lot of times when you're doing housing modifications, again, one issue with our siloed system, things get done out of order or out of priority. You know, maybe you went and you tear down that wall because there was, you know, a pest infestation. Then you built the wall back up. But then a year later, you're like, wait, we need insulation, and then that wall has to get torn down again. So really, it's great having the partners work together and the programs work together, because you're able to receive, like I said, basically just create a larger impact, which is really what we're trying to do at the end of the day. And then talking about impact, increase comfort in the space, remove trip and fall hazards, increased accessibility, lowered utility bills, saving approximately 2,271 therms a year, and increase the indoor air quality within the space. And that's my contact information.
So, questions?
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
So is there a share cost for the folks that use the mic? Hi, thank you for your presentation. I'm curious if there's a share of cost for the homeowner or the tenant or...
So that varies a little bit. Our goal is to make it as no cost as possible. But it depends, again, on the client, say single family versus multifamily, and what our partners' resources are. Again, not being a standalone program and working with the individual programs that already exist, we have to work through their models. So some of our partners might be a shared cost. Some of our partners are grants where it's no cost. So what are we able to do there? Essentially stack them on top of each other. Okay, if this is grant dollars, let's take the shared cost part of it out of the grants, and then therefore get the benefits of both.
This is a fantastic initiative, so thank you very much. And my question is, if we have a client who lives in a Section 8 apartment, would we need to contact the property owner to fill out the intake form, or could we just have the client themselves, with our support, fill out the intake form?
So I guess the answer is both. We need the property owner to sign on, and so we would need them to fill out the form, but we would also want to get information from the client, again, so that we have that impact data, like how are we actually impacting the client. So it's both. First and foremost, though, if they are a renter, we need the property owner to sign on.
When do you go from pilot to full-grown program? What constitutes that change?
Sure. I'd say a few things. We've been saying we're in pilot mode because we are essentially, even though I'm here presenting to all of you, we are essentially under the radar. Green and Healthy Homes Initiative nationally has a process which we call the compact signing. Again, we see GHHI's model as more of a systems change and not an overnight, here's a brand new program, take it and run with it. The ideal goal at the end is to kind of do away with the different eligibility, right? And do away with the different applications and have streamlined, coordinated pieces for all. But getting individual programs to change takes time. Not only does it take time, but it takes more support, say from the larger community, to kind of support that effort in changing our programs and our services and aligning them in that way. At the end of this year is when GHHI Marin will be having its compact signing. It's still a TBD date within the first 2 weeks of December, and at that point is when GHHI Marin will be considered a GHHI official site and therefore transitioned out of the pilot phase.
And that's at the Board of Supervisors.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Your previous slide had ADA bathroom changes. I work primarily with older adults, and what are the extent of the ADA changes? I mean, older adults may need grab bars, but they may need not a whole full panoply of changes. What are your guidelines there?
Sure. So guidelines are until the resources run out. We have done different baths and showers, so there have been more extensive modifications performed. Again, now that we have what we call the service fund, it's additional dollars that we can use above and beyond our partners to essentially meet the needs of the client, as opposed to just going until the resources run out. Any other questions?
I think you did say eventually we're looking at this model for services for all, not just lower income. Is that what you're saying? So that essentially you would be a consultation service to direct people to, or doing the evaluation and then directing people to what they need to get fixed, I guess I'm trying to say. Is that where you're seeing this going? Not just low income, is what I'm saying.
I will say right from the beginning, the task force called out, let me start over, hold on a moment. Traditionally, GHHI in Baltimore and throughout the country is a low-income initiative. Most of the time, the only time that it's not specifically for low-income individuals is when lead is involved. Again, since GHHI came out of the Coalition to End Childhood Lead Poisoning, they have a national plan to end lead poisoning across the country. And when lead is involved, they see as it being a health hazard to everyone and that it needs to be mitigated. How can they help? That said, when I joined here in Marin County, the task force made it clear that yes, they first and foremost wanted to serve the folks who needed it the most, low-income individuals, but that they did see a large gap here in Marin County where of essentially, a population that does not meet the income requirements for the programs and services available, but also do not have the extra funding to go ahead and do these modifications on their own. That said, GHHI Marin has, is essentially keeping in the back of all of our minds that eventually, how could we set this up if there was a specific shared cost model for folks who fall into that gap? That's not happening anytime soon. When I say soon, I guess I'm thinking of like 1 year out. That's not going to be the case. But it is definitely something that folks here in Marin County said that they wanted to account for and try to figure out what that would look like going forward. Did that answer your question? Okay.
I have two questions, one for homeowners and one for renters. And for homeowners, is there any discussion of partnerships with lily pads? So a house rich, cash poor referral can also be made through that synergy of referring the homeowner to lily pad for the free consultation to add a unit. That's the first one. And for renters, if once these improvements are made, are there protections for the renters so that they aren't they don't lose their newly rehabbed unit for someone who might raise the property owner who may raise the rent?
Sure. So I'll take the first one first. That's easy. Yes, we do partner with LilyPad Homes. So we have received referrals from LilyPad. We have sent folks to LilyPad. That, again, that's been a partnership that's already been made, and we're happy about that. In terms of renters, let me give some more information. We work with renters, but we do have some specifications on what buildings we can work with. For instance, they must be, if they're multifamily properties, they have to be either nonprofit owned or deemed affordable housing. So essentially, right now, that is the way we are operating. We are trying to figure out ways to work around that or what that would look like going forward. We do realize that there are lots of clients who could utilize these services but are in privately owned multifamily properties. But for the moment, because we want to make sure we have checks and balances in place, working with the nonprofit organizations, or Section 8 where, Marin Housing Authority, that information is cataloged and we can keep track of it. That's kind of where we're standing right now.
Hi, two questions, please, and sorry if I missed the first one. What is the 80% adjusted median income? That's the first question, if you've answered it earlier. Sorry if I missed it. The second piece is, in looking at your case example and all the many things that were done, who's coordinating all that activity? Is it you, or are you getting a hold of all the maintenance companies and the repair companies and scheduling them and all that?
No.
No. Seems like an awful lot to do.
So again, because we work, sorry, I'll take the second question first this time. Because we work with already existing programs, they already have those pieces covered. So for instance, in this case, Marin Housing Authority, who took on a lot of those, what we deem home rehab repairs that fall under our health and safety bucket, Marin Housing Authority took that on as essentially part of their program implementation, where MCE took on coordinating and doing the energy efficiency assessment, writing up the work scope, et cetera. So we do utilize our partners in that manner. Does that answer your question?
Well, I'm just trying to picture the individual homeowner. Is he the one having to try to coordinate all that, which could be difficult, or is it you or one of the partners?
Right. So full disclosure, again, that varies. But there is always either GHHI Marin, so myself, and or now Michaela, who's on board, or one of our partner agencies, essentially hand-holding that client through the process. Some of our partners have, say, preferred contractors or utilize the contractors that they use every time. Some of our partners, their programs are set up where they help the homeowner find a contractor of their choice. But either way, there's hand-holding all the way along.
And do you know what that 80% AMI is offhand?
I don't offhand, but it may be in one of my booklets in the back, so I can look when I'm done.
Okay, I want to thank you, Michelle. That was
Thank you.
really excellent presentation. And I just want to make a couple of more comments that I was very honored to be invited to be on the advisory committee in 2015 and continue to work with GHHI on the advisory committee and also the evaluation team. And one of the, obviously, Age-Friendly Sausalito is not a service provider in terms of some of the hard services listed here, although we do some advising regarding the social services part. But one thing we've been able to do was to develop in our community a pilot project that's going to be starting in the next month or so. It's just been approved by City Council, and that is a discount on the building permit for making accessible changes to your home. And part of that, as part of that process in our age-friendly program, we developed this brochure which shows different kinds of changes that you can make in your home to make it more accessible. And it's really a tool to help people start thinking about what kinds of things they would want to do in their home and that would make it more accessible and comfortable for them. We included in this brochure, which we leveraged some existing illustrations, and then we customized it. We have information about the different GHHI partners, as well as information about county services and where you can go to contact 457-INFO and other information, and some other resources. For example, Fair Housing of Marin, something about the California Property Tax Postponement Program, Keep Your Home California, and other things that may be helpful for people, as well as talking about the GHHI advisory partners. And I have a copy of this for everybody here. So I'd like to pass it out now, and thank you all very much.